called Our Town. It was written by Thornton Wilder, produced and directed by Miss Parr. In it you will see Miss Sanchez, Miss Melendez, Miss Moya, Mr. Perez, Miss Montoya, and many others. The name of the town is Grover's Corners. The first act shows a day in our town. The day is May 7th, 1901. The time is just before dawn. The sky is beginning to show some streaks of light over in the east there behind our mountain. The morning star always gets wonderful bright the minute before it has to go, doesn't it? Well, I'd better show you how our town lies. Up here is Main Street. Way back there is a railway station. Tracks go that way. Polish towns across the tracks. Over there is a Congregational church. Across the street's a Presbyterian. Methodist and Unitarian are over there. Baptist church is down in the hollow by the river. Catholic church is over beyond the tracks. Here's the town hall and post office combined. Jail's in the basement. Here's a grocery store and Mr. Morgan's drugstore. Most everybody in town manages to look into those two stores once a day. Public school's over yonder. High school's still farther over. 8:45 mornings, noon times, and 3 o'clock afternoons. The whole town can hear the yelling and screaming from those schoolyards. This is our doctor's house, Doc Gibbs. This is the back door. This is Mrs. Gibbs' garden. Corn, peas, beans, hollyhock, heliotropes, and a lot of burdock. In those days, our newspaper come out twice a week, the Grover's Corner Sentinel. And this is Editor Webb's house. And this is Mrs. Webb's garden. Just like Mrs. Gibbs, only it's got a lot of sunflowers too. Right here's a big butternut tree. Nice town, you know what I mean? Nobody very remarkable come out of it as far as we know. The earliest tombstones up in the cemetery on the mountain say 1670 to 1680. They're Grovers and Cartwrights, Gibbses and Herseys. Same names as are around here now. Well, as I said, it's about dawn. The only lights on in town are in a cottage, over by the tracks, where Polish mothers just had twins, and in the Joe Crow house, where Joe Jr.'s getting up so as to deliver the paper, and down at the depot, where Shorty Hawkins has just lagged the 5:45 train. Naturally, out in the country, all around, there have been lights on for some time, what with Melkins and so on. But town people sleep late. So, another day's begun. There's Doc Gibbs coming down Main Street now, coming back from that baby case. And here's his wife coming downstairs to get breakfast. And Joe Crow Jr., delivering Mr. Webb's sentinel.
Morning, Doc.
Morning, Joe.
Somebody been sick, Doc?
No, just some twins born over in Polish now.
You want your paper now?
Yes, I'll take it. Anything serious going on in the world since Wednesday?
Yes, sir. My school teacher, Miss Foster, getting married to a fella over in Concord.
I declare. How do you boys feel about that?
Well, of course, not any of my business. But I think if a person starts out to be a teacher, she ought to stay one.
How's your knee, Joe?
Fine, Doc. I never think about it at all. Only like you said, it always tells me when it's going to rain.
What's it telling you today? Going to rain?
No, sir.
Sure?
Yes, sir.
Knee ever make a mistake?
No, sir.
Want to tell you something about that boy Joe Crow there. Joe was awful bright. Graduated from high school here, head of his class. So he got a scholarship to Massachusetts Tech. Graduated head of his class there too. Gonna be a great engineer, Joe was. But the war broke out, and he died in France. All that education for nothing.
Get up, Bessie. What's the matter with you?
Here comes Howie Newsom, delivering the milk.
Morning, Doc.
Morning, Howie.
Somebody sick?
Sheriff twins over to Miss Gorostowski's.
Twins, eh? This town's getting bigger every year.
Going to rain, Howie?
No, fine day. That'll burn through, though.
Good morning, Howie.
Morning, Mrs. Gibbs. Doc's just coming down the street.
Is he? Seems like you're late today.
Yes, something went wrong with the separator. Don't know what it was, though. Doc,
Howie.
Children, time to get up. Everything all right, Frank?
there, easy as kittens.
Bacon will be ready in a minute. Sit down and drink your coffee. You can catch a couple hours late this morning, can't you?
Miss Wentworth's coming over at 11. Guess I know what it's about too. Her stomach ain't what it ought to be.
All told, Frank Gibbs, you won't get more than 3 hours sleep. I don't know what's going to become of you. I do wish I could take you someplace to get a real rest. I think it'll do you good.
Emily, time to get up. It's 7 o'clock.
I declare, you've got to speak to George. Something's gone over him lately. He's no help to me at all.
Is he sassy to you?
No, all he does is whine. All he thinks about is that baseball. George, Rebecca! George!
George, look sharp!
Yes, Pa.
Don't you hear your mother calling you? I guess I'll head upstairs and get George.
Emily, you'll be late for school.
Ma, what dress shall I wear? Don't make a noise. Your father's been out all night and needs his rest. I washed and ironed the blue, get it for you special.
Ma, I hate that dress.
Oh, hush up with you.
Every day I go to school dressed like a sick turkey.
Now, Rebecca, you always look very nice.
Mama, George is throwing soap at me.
I'll come and slap the both of you. That's what I'll do.
We've got a factory in our town, too. Here, makes leggings.
Now I won't have it. Breakfast is just as good as any other meal, and I won't have you gobbling it like a wolf. It'll stunt your growth. That's a fact. Put away your book. Emily, you know the rules as well as I do. No books at the table. As for me, I'd rather have my child healthy than bright.
I'm both, Mama. You know I am. I'm the brightest girl in school for my age. I have a wonderful memory.
Just eat your breakfast.
I'll speak to your father about it when he has a chance. It seems to me that 25 cents is enough for a boy your age.
Oh, Ma, I got a lot of things to buy.
Strawberry frosties, that's what you spend it on.
I don't see how Rebecca comes to have so much money. She has more than $1.
I've been saving it up gradually. Well, dear, I think it's nice to spend some money every now and then.
Mama, do you know what I love most in the world? Do you?
Money. Eat your breakfast.
I want to
You
go.
gotta walk fast, but you don't have to run. Set them straight, Emily.
Tell Miss Fairchild I sent her my best congratulations. Can you remember that? Yes? Well, it was real nice, Rebecca. Now pull up your feet.
Bye.
Bye. Here, tick, 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 tick. Here. No, no, no. Go away. Here. Go away. Fight, fight, fight. That's what you do. You're not mine. Where'd you come from? Good morning, Myrtle.
Good morning.
How's your cold?
Well, I still get that tickling feeling in my throat. I told Charles I didn't know I had to go to choir practice tonight. Wouldn't be any use.
Have you tried singing over your voice?
Yes, but somehow I can't manage to do that and stay on the key. While I'm resting, I thought I'd drink some of these beans.
Here, let me help. Beans aren't good this year.
I decided to put a 40 quarts of the kill. Emily says she hates them, but I noticed she's able to get them down all winter.
Myrtle, I need to tell you something because if I don't tell somebody, I think I'll burst.
Why, Julia?
Myrtle, did one of those secondhand furniture men from Boston come see you last Friday?
No.
Well, one called upon me. First, I thought he was a patient waiting to see Dr. Gibbs, and then he wormed his way into my parlor. And Myrtle Webb, he offered me $350 for Grandmother Wentworth's highboy as I was sitting there.
Why, Julia Gibbs?
He did that old thing. It was so big I didn't know where to put it, and I almost gave it to Cousin Esther Wilcox.
Well, you're gonna take it, aren't you?
I don't know.
You don't know? Julia, $350? What has come over you?
If I could get the doctor to take the money and take me out someplace real, I'd sell like that. No, Myrtle, it's always been a dream of mine to see Paris friends. And I promised myself, if I ever had the chance...
How does the doctor feel about it?
You know him. I never heard a serious word out of him since I know him. No, he said. Better let well enough alone.
Well, if that second-hand man's serious about buying it, Julia, you sell it. And then you'll go see Paris, all right? Just keep dropping hints from time to time. That's how I got to see the Atlantic Ocean, you know?
I'm sorry I brought it up. It seems to me that once in my life, you should visit a country where they don't talk in English and they don't even want to.
Thank you, lady. Thank you very much. Now we're going to skip a few hours. But first, we want a little more information about the town. Kind of a scientific account, we might say. So I've asked Professor Willard of our state university to sketch in a few details of our past history here. Is Professor Willard here? May I introduce Professor Willard of our state university. A few brief notes. Thank you, Professor. Unfortunately, our time is limited.
Grover's Corner, let me see. Grover's Corner lies in the old Pleistocene granite of the Appalachian Range. It's some of the oldest land in the world. We're very proud of that. Some highly interesting fossils have been found. I may say unique fossils. Just 2 miles out of town in Silas Peckham's cow pasture. They can be seen at the museum in our university at any time. That is, at any reasonable time. Shall I read some of Professor Gruber's notes on the meteorological situation, mean precipitation, etc.?
Afraid we won't have much time for that, Professor. We may have a few words on the history of man here.
Ah, yes. Anthropological data. Early Emerald stock, Cotahatchee tribes. No evidence found before the 10th century of this era. Now entirely disappeared. Possible traces in 3 families.
And the population, Professor Willard.
Within the town limits, 2,640.
Just a moment. Professor.
Ah, yes, indeed. The population at the moment is 2,642. The postal district brings in about 507 more, making a total of 3,149. Mortality and birth rates constant. By McPherson's gauge, 6.032.
Thank you very much, Professor. We're all obliged to you, I'm sure.
Not at all, sir. Not at all.
This way, Professor. And thank you again. Now, for the political and social report. Editor Webb. Oh, Mr. Webb?
He'll be here in a minute. He just cut his hand while eating an apple.
Thank you, Mrs. Webb. Charles! Everybody's waiting! Editor Webb is publisher and editor of the Grover's Corner Sentinel. That's our local paper, you know.
Well, I don't have to tell you that we're run here by a board of selectmen. All males vote at the age of 21. Women vote indirect. We're a lower middle class, sprinkling of professional men, 10% illiterate laborers. Politically, we're 86% Republican, 6% Democrat, 4% Socialist, rest indifferent. Religiously, we're 85% Protestant, 12% Catholic, rest indifferent.
Have you any comments, Mr. Webb?
Very ordinary town if you ask me. A little better behaved than most. Probably a lot duller. But our young people here seem to like it well enough. 90% of them graduating from high school settle down right here to live, even when they've been away to college.
Now, is there anyone in the audience who would like to ask Editor Webb anything about the town?
Oh, Mr. Webb, is there any culture, love, or beauty in Grover's Corners?
Well, there ain't much. Not in the sense you mean. Come to think of it, there are some girls that play piano at high school commencement, but they ain't too happy about it. No, ma'am, there isn't much culture. But maybe this is the place to tell you that we have a lot of pleasures of a kind. We like the sun coming up over the mountains in the morning. We all notice a good deal of the birds. We all pay attention to them. And we watch the change of the seasons. Yes, everybody knows about them. But those other things, you're right, ma'am. Very much.
So I thought. Thank you, Mr. Webb.
Thank you, Mr. Webb. Now we'll go back to the town. It's early afternoon. All 2,642 have had their dinner, and all the dishes have been washed. There's an early afternoon calm in our town. A buzzing and a humming coming from the school buildings. Only a few buggies on Main Street. Horses are dozing at their hitching posts. You all remember what it's like. Doc Gibbs in his office, tapping people, making them say, ah! Mr. Webb's cutting his lawn over there. No, sirs, later than I thought. There are the children coming home from school already.
I can't, Lois. I've got to go home and help my mother. I promise.
Emily, walk simply. Who do you think you are today?
Papa, you're terrible. 1 minute you tell me to stand up straight, and the next you call me names. I just don't listen to you.
Golly, I never got a kiss from such a great lady before.
Mrs. Forrest?
Go out and play in the field, young man. You've got no business playing baseball on Main Street.
Awful sorry, Mrs. Forrest. Hello, Emily.
Hello.
You made a fine speech in class.
Well, I was really ready to make a speech about the Monroe Doctrine, but at the last minute, Miss Corcoran made me talk about the Louisiana Purchase instead. I worked an awful long time on both of them.
Gee, it's funny, Emily. From my window up there, I can just see your head nights when you're doing your homework over in your room.
Why, can you?
You sure do stick to it, Emily. I don't see how you can sit still that long.
I always feel it's something you have to go through.
Yeah,
I don't mind it really. It passes the time.
yeah. Emily, what do you say? We might work out a kind of telegraph from your window to mine, and every once in a while you could give me a hint or two on one of those algebra problems. Oh, I don't mean the answers, Emily. Of course not. Just some little hint.
Oh, I think hints are allowed. So, George, if you get stuck, you whistle to me, and I'll give you some hints.
Emily, you're just naturally bright, I guess.
I figure it's just the way a person's born.
Yeah, but you see, I want to be a farmer. And my Uncle Luke says that whenever I'm ready, I can come over and start working on his farm. And if I'm any good at it, I could just magically have it.
You mean the house and everything?
Yeah. Oh, well, I better be getting out to the baseball field. Thanks for the help, Emily. Good afternoon, Mrs. Webb.
Good afternoon, George.
So long, Emily.
So long, George.
Emily, come help me string these beans for the winter. So, George Gibbs let himself have a real conversation, didn't he? Why, growing up, how old would George be?
I don't know.
Let's see, he must be almost 16.
Mama, I made a speech in class today. I was very good.
You must recite it to your father at supper. What was it about?
The Louisiana Purchase. It was like silk off the spool. I'm going to make speeches all my life. Mama, are these big enough?
Try to make them a little bigger if you can.
Mama, will you answer me a question? Serious.
Seriously, dear, not serious.
Seriously? Will you?
Of course I will.
Mama, am I good looking?
Yes, of course you are. You have good features. I'd be ashamed if you didn't.
That's not what I mean. What I mean is, am I pretty?
I already told you yes. Now that's enough of that. You have a nice, young, pretty face, and I've never heard of such foolishness.
Mama, you never tell me the truth about anything.
I am telling you the truth.
Mama, were you pretty?
Yes, I was. If I do say so myself, I was the prettiest girl in town. Next to Mamie Cartwright.
Well, Mama, you've got to say something about me. Am I pretty enough to get anybody? To get people interested
Emily, you
in
make
me?
me tired. Now stop it. You're pretty enough for all normal purposes. Come along now and bring that bowl with you.
Oh, Mama, you never tell me the truth about anything.
Thank you. Thank you. That'll do. We'll have to interrupt again. Thank you, Mrs. Webb. Thank you, Emily. Well, a good deal of time's gone by. It's evening. You can hear choir practice going on in the congregational church. The children are at home doing their schoolwork. The day's running down like a tired clock.
Now look here, everybody. You took them into the world to give pleasure. Softer, softer! Get it out of your head because it's only good when it's loud. You leave loudness in the
Emily, did you get the third problem?
Which?
The third.
Why, yes, George. What's the easiest of them all?
Emily, I just don't see it. Could you give me a hint?
I'll tell you one. The answer's in yards.
In yards? How do you mean?
In square yards?
Square yards.
Yes, George, don't you see?
Yeah.
Square yards of wallpaper?
Oh, wallpaper. Now I see. Thanks a lot, Emily.
You're welcome. My, isn't the moonlight terrible? And choir practice going on. I think if you hold your breath, you can hear the train all the way to Conticook. Hear it?
What do you know?
Well, I guess I better go back and try to work.
Good night, Emily. And thanks.
Good night, George.
Now, before I forget, how many of you will be able to come in Tuesday afternoon to sing at Fred Hirsch's wedding? Show your hands. That'll be fine. That'll be right nice. We'll do the same music we did for Jane Trowbridge's last month. Now we'll do Art Thou Weary, Art Thou Languid. It's a question, ladies and gentlemen. Make it top. Ready? Art thou weary, art thou languid, art thou sore distressed? Come to me, saith one, and coming, be at rest.
Oh, George, can you come down a minute?
Yes, Bob.
Make yourself comfortable, George. I'll only keep you a minute. George, how old are you?
I'm 16. Almost 17.
What do you want to do after school's over?
Oh, you know, Pop. I want to be a farmer on my Uncle Luke's farm.
So you'll be willing, will you? To milk and feed the stock? And you'll be able to hoe and hay all day.
Why, sure I will. What do you mean?
Well, George, while I was in my office today, I heard a funny sound. And what do you think it was? It was your mother chopping wood. There, you see your mother getting up early, cooking meals all day long, washing and ironing, and still, she has to go out in that backyard and chop wood? I suppose she just got tired of asking you. She just gave up and decided it was easier to do it herself. And you eat her meals and put on the clothes she keeps nice for you? And you run off and play baseball like she's some hired girl we keep around the house but that we don't like very much? Well, I knew all I had to do was bring it to your attention, son. These are your pictures. George, I've decided to raise your spending money 25 cents a week. Not, of course, for chopping wood for your mother, because that's a gift you give her, but because you're getting older, and I imagine you must find things to do with it. Let's see. Tomorrow's your payday. You can count on it. Probably Rebecca thought she had to have some more, too. I wonder what could have happened to your mother. Choir practice was never as late as this before.
It's only 8:30, Pop.
I don't know why she's in the old choir. She hasn't any more voice than an old crow. Traipsing around the streets at this hour of the night. Just about time you retired, don't you think?
Yes, Pop.
Good night, Martha. Good night, Mr. Foster.
Very nice choir practice, wasn't it? Myrtle Webb, we should look at that room. Potato weather for sure.
Naturally, I didn't want to say a word about it in front of the others. But now that we're alone, really, it's the worst scandal that ever was in this town.
What?
Simon Simpson.
Now Luella.
But, Julia, to have a church organist drink and drunk year after year, you know he was drunk
Now
tonight.
Luella, we all know about Simon Stinson and we all know about the troubles he's been through. And Dr. Ferguson knows too. And if Dr. Ferguson keeps him on his job, the only thing the rest of us can do is just not notice it.
Not to notice it, but it's getting worse.
No, it isn't, Llewellyn. It's getting better. I've been in that choir twice as long as you have, and it doesn't happen anywhere near so often. I hate to go to bed on a night like this. Emily will be up till all hours. Good night.
Good night. Can you get home safe, Lula?
It's us Brightest Day. I can see Mrs. Solskjaer at the window right now. You think we've been to a damn commencement carry-on.
Good night. Well, now the road is on.
You're late enough,
Why Frank getting any later than usual?
and you stopping at the corner to gossip with a lot of hens?
Frank, don't be so grouchy. Come on, smell the gilly choke like. See? Isn't it wonderful? Now what did you do all the time I was away?
Oh, I read, as usual. What were the girls gossiping about tonight?
No, Frank, there is always something to gossip about.
Simon Stimson far gone, was he?
The worst I've ever seen him, Frank, and how that end, and Dr. Ferguson can't forgive him forever.
I guess I know more about Simon Stimson's affairs than anybody in this town. Some people ain't made for small town life. I don't know how that'll end, but nothing we can do now but just leave it alone. Come, get in.
No, Frank, I'm worried about him.
What are you worried about?
I feel like it's my duty that you get a real wrestler change. And if I get that legacy, I'm gonna insist on it.
No, Julia, there's no sense in going over that again.
Frank, you're just being unreasonable.
Come on, Julia, it's getting late. First thing you know, you'll catch a cold. I gave Georgia a piece of my mind tonight. I reckon you have your wood chopped for a while now anyway. No, start getting upstairs.
You know, Frank, all those people upside that part of town locked their door. And Mrs. Fairchild does too.
They're all getting city-fied. That's the trouble with them. They haven't got nothing fit to burgle, and everybody knows it.
Get out, Rebecca. There's only room for one at this window. You're always ruining everything.
Well, let me look just a minute.
Use your own window.
I did, but there's no room there, George. You know what I think? Do you? I think maybe the moon's getting nearer and nearer, and someday there'll be a big explosion.
Rebecca, you don't know anything. If the moon's getting near, the guys who sit up all night with telescopes, they'd see it first. And they'd tell about it. And it'd be in all the newspapers.
George, is the moon shining on South America, Canada, and half the whole world?
Well, probably.
9:30. Most of the lights are on. Now there's Constable Warren trying a few doors on Main Street. And here comes Editor Webb after putting his newspaper in bed.
Good evening, Bill.
Evening, Mr. Webb.
Quite a moon.
Yep.
All quiet tonight.
Simon Simpson's running around a little. Just saw his life on the hump for him, so I looked the other way. There he is now.
Good evening, Simon. Most of the town settled down for the night pretty well. Good evening. Most of the town settled down for the night, Simon. I guess we better do the same. Can I walk a long way with you? Good night.
I don't know how that's gonna go, Mr. Webb.
Well, he's seen a pick of trouble, one thing after another. Well, good night, Bill.
Good night, Mr. Webb.
Who's that up there? Is that you, Myrtle?
No, Papa, it's me.
Why aren't you in bed?
I don't know. I just can't sleep yet. The moonlight's so wonderful. And this gets heliotrope. Smell it?
Yes.
I never told you about that letter Jane Crawford got from her minister when she was sick. He wrote Jane a letter, and on the envelope it said, Jane Crawford, the Crawford Farm, Grover's Corners, Sutton County, the United States of America.
What's so funny about that?
But listen, it's not finished. The United States of America, the continent of North America, the Western Hemisphere, the Earth, the solar system, the universe, the mind of God. That's what it said in the envelope.
What do you know?
And the postman brought it just the same.
Well, what do you know?
have cracked the mounds a little bit more, and the rains have brought down some of the dirt. Some babies that weren't even born before have begun talking regular sentences already. And a number of people who thought they were right, young and spry, have noticed that they can't quite bound up a flight of stairs like they used to, without their heart fluttering a little. All that can happen in 1,000 days. It's July 7th, just after high school commences. That's the time most of our young people jump up and get married. Soon as they pass their last examinations in solid geometries and Cicero's orations, it looks like they suddenly feel themselves fit to be married. It's early morning. Only this time it's been raining. It's been pouring and thundering. And there's Mrs. Gibbs and Mrs. Webb come downstairs to make breakfast, just as though it were an ordinary day. I don't have to point out to the women in my audience that those ladies they see before them, both of them cook 3 meals a day, one of them for 20 years, the other for 40, and no summer vacation. They both brought up children, washed, cleaned the house, and never sprayed them. It's like what one of those Middle West poets said. You've got to love them, to have them. You've got to have them, to love them. It's what they call a vicious circle.
Get out, Bessie.
Here comes Howie Newsom, delivering the milk, and Psycho, delivering the papers like his brother before him.
Morning, Howie.
Morning, Si. Anything in the papers I ought to know?
Nothing much, except for losing about the best baseball pitcher Grover's Corners ever had, George Gibbs.
Reckon he is.
He could hit and run bases, too.
Mighty fine ball player. Oh, Bessie. I guess I can stop and talk about what mine too.
I don't see it give up a thing like that just to get married. Would you, Howie?
Can't tell, Si. Never had no talent that way. You're up early, Bill.
Seeing if there's anything to do with red blood. River's been rising all night.
Si Crowell was all worked up here about George Gibbs retiring from baseball.
Yes, sir, that's the way it is. Back in '84, we had a player sign him, and George Gibbs couldn't touch him. Name was Hank Todd. Went down to Maine and became a parson. He was a wonderful ball player. Howie, how does Willie look to you?
Well, it ain't that bad. Rained so heavy last night, I think maybe it'll clear it for good.
Good morning, Howie.
Morning, Mrs. Gibbs.
Do you think it'll rain again?
Rained so heavy last night, I think maybe it'll clear it. How much did you want today?
I'm gonna have the house full of relations, so it looks like I'll need 3 of milk and 2 of them.
I hope you'll be very happy, Mrs. Gibbs. I know they will.
Thank you, Howie.
Good morning, Mr. Newsom.
Morning, Mrs. Webb.
I told you 4 quarts of milk, but I hope you can spare me another.
Yes, and 2 of cream?
Yes. Will it be raining today, Mr. Newsom?
Just saying to Mrs. Gibbs is how it may lighten up. I hope they'll be very happy, Mrs. Webb. I know they will.
Thank you.
Well, Ma, the day has come. You're losing one of your chicks.
Frank Gibbs, don't say another word. It's really crying for dinner.
The groom's up shaving himself, only there ain't an awful lot of shave. Whistling and singing like he's happy to leave us. Every now and then he says, I do, to the mirror, but it don't sound very convincing to me.
All told, he won't get along with Frank. I've washed and ironed his clothes and seen to it that he's put on warm things. And Frank, they're too young. And Emily won't think of such things and will catch his death of a cold within a week.
I was remembering my wedding morning, Julia.
Don't start that, Frank Gibbs.
I was the scariest young fella in the state. I thought I'd make a mistake for sure. And when I saw you walking down that aisle, I thought you were the prettiest girl I'd ever seen. The only problem was that I'd never seen you before. There I was in the Congregational Church, marrying a total stranger.
How do you think I felt, Frank? Weddings are perfectly awful things. Farces is what they are. Here, I made you something.
Why, Julia Hersey, French toast.
It ain't hard to make, and I had to do something.
How'd you sleep last night, Julia?
Well, I did hear some of the hours turn on.
Yes, I get a shock every time I think of George setting out to be a family man. That great dangling thing. I tell you, Julia, there's nothing so terrifying in the world as a son. The relation of father and son is the darndest, awkwardest.
Well, mother and daughter ate and picnic at the park, let me tell you.
They'll have a lot of troubles, I suppose, but that's none of our concern. Everyone has a right to their own troubles.
Yes, life is meant to go to right too. It ain't natural to be lonesome.
Julia, do you know one of the things I was scared of when I first married you?
Go along.
I was afraid we'd be eating our meals in silence, and that's a fact. Well, we've been conversing for more than 20 years now without any noticeable barren spells.
With good weather, bad weather, it ain't great choice. I always find something to say. Did you hear Rebecca stirring around upstairs this morning?
No, only dear that Rebecca has been managing everybody's business up there. She's locked in her room. I get the impression she's crying.
For God's sakes, this has got to stop. Rebecca! Rebecca, come down and eat your breakfast.
Good morning, everybody. Only 5 more hours to live.
George, where do you think you're going?
Just stepping across the grass to see my girl.
George, it's raining torrents outside. You must put on your overshoes. You don't go out of this house without you being prepared for it.
Oh, Ma, it's just a step.
George, you'll catch your death with a cough and cold all throughout the service.
George, listen to your mother.
From tomorrow on, you can kill yourself for all weather. But while you're in my house, you'll live wisely. And I'm sure Mrs. Webb used to call her that 7 in the morning. Take the first cup of coffee.
I'll be back in a minute. Good morning, Miss Webb.
Goodness, George, you frightened me. Now, George, you can come in a minute, out of the wet, but you know I can't ask you in.
Oh, why not?
George, you know the rules as well as I do. No groom should see his bride before his wedding, not until he sees her in church.
Oh, that's just an old superstition. Good morning, Mr. Webb.
Good morning, George.
Mr. Webb, what sort of sense can there be in a superstition like that?
There's a lot of common sense in some superstitions, George.
Millions have followed it, and you don't want to be the first to fly in the face of custom.
How's Emily?
She hasn't waken up yet. Haven't heard a sound out of her.
Emily's asleep?
No wonder. We were up to all hours sewing and packing. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll go upstairs and be sure she doesn't come down and surprise you.
So, George, how are you?
I'm fine. I'm fine. Mr. Webb, what sort of sense could there possibly be in a superstition like that?
Well, you see, on her wedding morning, a girl's head ought to be full of clothes and one thing and another. Don't you think that's probably it?
Yes. I never thought of that.
A girl's apt to be a mite nervous on her wedding day.
I wish a man could get married without all of that marching up and down.
Every man that's ever lived has felt that way about it, George, but it hasn't any use. For a while now, the women folk have had it on their own. A man looks pretty small at a wedding, George. All those good women standing shoulder to shoulder, making sure that the knot is tied in a mighty public way.
But you believe in it, don't you, Mr. Webb?
Oh yes. Don't you misunderstand me, my boy. Marriage is a wonderful thing, a wonderful thing. And don't you forget that, George.
No, sir. Mr. Webb, how old were you when you got married?
Well, you see, I'd been away to college and I'd taken some time to get settled, but Mrs. Webb, she wasn't much older than Emily's age. Oh, age hasn't much to do with it, George. Not compared with, other things?
What were you going to say, Mr. Webb?
Oh, I don't know. Was I going to say something? George, I was thinking the other night of some advice my father gave me when I was getting married. Charles, he said, Charles. Start out early by showing who's boss, he said. Best thing to do is give an order, even if it don't make sense, just so she'll learn to obey. And he said, if anything about your wife irritates you, her conversation or anything, just get up and leave the house. That'll make it clear to her, he said. And he said, oh, yes. He said to never let your wife know how much money you have. Never.
Well, Mr. Webb, I don't think I could.
So I took the opposite of my father's advice, and I've been happy ever since. And let that be a lesson to you, George. Never to ask advice on personal matters.
George, Emily's got to come downstairs and eat for breakfast.
She sends you her love, but she doesn't want to lay eyes on you. Goodbye.
I'm guessing you haven't heard about that older superstition, Myrtle.
What do you mean, Charles?
Since the cavemen, no bridegroom should see his father-in-law on or around the day of the wedding. Now, remember that.
Thank you very much, Mr. and Mrs. Webb. Now we'll have to interrupt you a bit. You see, we want to know how all this began. This wedding. This plan to spend a lifetime together. I'm awfully interested in how big things like that begin. You know how it is. You're 21 or 22, and you make some decisions. Then you're 70. You've been a lawyer for 50 years, and that white-haired lady by your side has eaten over 50,000 meals with you. How do such things begin? We'll find out after intermission. That's the end of Act 1, folks. Welcome back. George and Emily are going to show you now the conversation they had when they first knew that as the saying goes, they were meant for one another. But before they do, I want you to try and remember what it was like to have been very young, and particularly the days when you were first in love, when you were like a person sleepwalking, and you didn't quite see the street you're in, and didn't quite hear the things that were said to you. You're just a little bit crazy. Will you remember that, please? Now, they'll be coming out of high school at 3 o'clock. George has just been elected president of the junior class. And as it's June, that means he'll be president of the senior class all next year. And Emily's just been elected secretary and treasurer. I don't have to tell you how important that is. Yep, there they are, coming down Main Street now.
I can't, Louis. I gotta go. Goodbye. Oh, Ernestine, can you come over and do Latin tonight? Isn't that Cicero the worst thing? Tell your mother you have to. Goodbye. Goodbye, Helen. Goodbye, Fred.
Can I carry you to the family?
Why, thank you. It isn't far.
Emily, why are you mad at me?
I'm not mad at you.
But you've been treating me so funny lately.
Well, since you asked, I might as well say it right out. George, goodbye, Miss Corcoran.
Goodbye, Miss Corcoran. What is...
I don't like the whole change that's come over you in the last year. I'm sorry if it hurts your feelings, but you've got to tell the truth and shame the devil.
A change? What do you mean?
Well, up to a year ago, I used to like you a lot. I used to watch you as you did everything because we'd been friends so long. Then you began spending all your time at baseball, and you never stopped to speak to anybody anymore. Not even your own family. You didn't. And, George, it's a fact. You've got awful conceited and stuck up. And all the girls say so. They may not say so to your face, but that's what they say about you behind your back, and it hurts me to hear them say it. But I've got to agree with them a little. I'm sorry if I hurt your feelings, but I can't be sorry I said it.
I'm glad you said it, Emily. I never thought that such a thing was happening to me. I guess it's hard for a fella not to have faults attributed to his character.
Well, I always expect a man to be perfect, and I think he should be.
Oh, I don't think anybody's perfect, Emily.
Well, my father is, and as far as I can see, your father is. There's no reason on earth why you shouldn't be too.
Well, I actually believe that it's the other way around. That men aren't naturally good, but girls are.
Well, you might as well know right now, and I'm not perfect. It's not as easy for a girl to be perfect as me. We girls are more nervous. I'm sorry I said all that about you. I don't know what made me say it.
Emily,
Now I can see it's not the truth at all, and I suddenly feel it isn't important anyway.
Emily, would you like an ice cream soda? Something before you go home.
Well, thank you. I would.
Hello, George. Hello, Emily. What do you have? Why, Emily Webb? What did you just cry about?
She just got off the scare, Miss Morgan. She almost got ran over by that hardware store wagon. Everybody says that Tom Huckins drives like a crazy man.
Well, now, you take a drink of water, Emily. You look all shook up. I tell you, you got to look both ways before you cross Main Street these days. Gets worse every year. What do you have?
I'll have a strawberry phosphate. Thank you, Mr. Morgan.
No. One ice cream soda with me. 2 strawberry ice cream sodas, Miss Morgan.
2 strawberry ice cream sodas. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. There they are. Enjoy.
They're so expensive.
No, don't think of that. We're celebrating our election. And you know what else I'm celebrating?
No.
I'm celebrating that I've got a friend who tells me all the things that ought to be told to me.
George, please don't think of that. I don't know what made me say it.
No, Emily, you stick to it. But I'm gonna change. I'm gonna change so quick. And Emily, I want to ask you a favor.
What?
Emily, if I go away to say agriculture college next year, will you write me a letter every once in a while?
I certainly will. I certainly will, George. It certainly seems being away 3 years, you'd get out of touch with things. Maybe letters from Grover's Corners wouldn't be so interesting after a while. Grover's Corners isn't a very important place when you think of it, but I think it's a lovely town.
The day wouldn't come when I wouldn't want to know everything that's happening here, Emily. I know that's true.
Well, I'll try to keep my letters interesting.
You know, Emily, whenever I meet a farmer, I ask him if it's important to go to agriculture school, to be a good farmer.
Why, George?
Yeah, and some of them even say that it's a waste of time, that you can get all those things out of the pamphlets the government sends out. And Uncle Luke's getting old. He's about ready for me to start taking over his farm tomorrow, if I could.
My.
And like you say, being gone all that time, being other people, in other places, gosh, if anything like that can happen, I don't want to go away. And Emily, I feel as you're as good as a friend as I've got. And I don't need to go to other places to meet other people.
George, don't you think it's important that you go and learn all that about cattle judging and soils and all those things? Of course, I don't know.
Emily, I'm gonna make my decision right now. I won't go. I'll tell Pop about it tonight.
George, I don't see why you have to decide right now. It's a whole year away.
Emily, I'm glad you spoke to me about that. That fault in my character. You were right. But there was one thing wrong in it. And it was that when you said for a year, I wasn't noticing people. And you, for instance. Why, you say you watched me as I did everything. Well, I did the same thing about you, all the time. Why, sure. I always thought of you as one of the chief people I thought of. I always made sure you were sitting by the bleachers and who you were with. And for 3 days now, I've been trying to walk home with you. But something's always gotten in the way. Yesterday, I was standing over against that wall, waiting for you, and you walked home in this courtroom.
George, life's awful funny. How could I have known that? Why, I thought...
Emily, I'm going to tell you why I'm not going to agriculture school. I think that when you found someone that you're very fond of, and someone that's very fond of you too, and likes you enough to be interested in your character, well, think that's just as important as college. Even more so. That's what I think.
I think it's awfully important too.
Emily?
Yes, George?
Emily, if I do improve and make a big change, would you be? I mean, could you?
I am now. I always have been.
So, I guess this has been an important topic we've been having.
Yes. Yes.
Now wait just a minute. I'll walk you home. Mr. Morgan, I'll need to go home and get the money I need to pay for this.
Why, George Gibbs, do you mean to tell me?
Yes, but I have my reasons. Here, take my gold watch. Keep it until I come back with money.
That's all right. Keep your watch. I'll trust you.
I'll be back in 5 minutes.
I'll trust you 10 years, George. Not a day over. Got all of your shotgun?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Morgan. Good night.
I'm ready.
Well, now we're ready to get on with the wedding. There are a lot of things to be said about a wedding. There are a lot of thoughts that go on during the wedding. We can't get them all into one wedding naturally, and especially not into a wedding at Grover's Corners, where they're awfully plain and short. In this wedding, I played the minister.
I don't know why on earth I should be crying. I suppose that there's nothing to cry about. Came over me at breakfast this morning. There was Emily, eating her breakfast as she's done for 17 years. And now, she's going on to eat it in someone else's house. I suppose that's it. And Emily, she suddenly said, I can't eat another mouthful. And she put her head down on the table and she cried. Oh, I've got to say it. You know, there's something downright cruel about sending our girls into marriage this way. I hope some of her girlfriends have told her a thing or two. It's cruel. I know, but I couldn't bring myself to say anything. I went into a blindness about myself. The whole world's wrong. That's what's the matter. There they come.
What's wrong?
Mom, I don't want to grow old. Why is everybody pushing me so?
George, you wanted this.
No, Mom, listen to me.
George, you're a man now.
Mom, for the last time, I asked you, all I want to do is be a fella.
George, if anybody should hear you, I'm ashamed of you.
Where's Emily?
George, you gave me such a turn.
Sure, Mom. I'm getting married.
When you catch my breath first.
Now, you say Thursday night. Emily and I are going over for dinner every Thursday night. Oh, come on, Mom. Why are you crying? Gotta get ready for this.
I never felt so alone in my whole life. And George over there, looking so... I hate him! I wish I were dead! Papa! Papa!
Emily, now, don't be upset.
Papa, I don't want to get married.
Shh, Emily, everything's all right.
Why can't I stay for a moment just as I am? Let's go away!
No, now stop and think a minute.
Don't you remember that you used to say, all the time, you used to say, that I was your girl. There must be lots of places we can go to.
Shh, you mustn't think of such things. You're just nervous, Emily. George, will you come here a minute? Why, you're marrying the best young fellow in the world. George is a fine fellow.
Papa!
I'm giving away my daughter, George. Do you think you can take care of her?
Sweat. I want to. I want to try. Emily, I'm gonna do my best. I love you, Emily. I need you.
Well, if you love me, then help me. All I want is someone to love me.
I will, Emily. Emily, I'll try.
And I mean forever. Do you hear me? Forever and ever.
Come, they're waiting for us. Now, you know it'll be all right.
Do you, George, take this woman, Emily, be your wedded wife, to have
Perfectly lovely wedding. Loveliest wedding I ever saw. Oh, I do love a good wedding, don't you? Doesn't she make a lovely bride?
I do.
Do you, Emily, take this man, George, be your wedded husband,
Oh, Donovan, I made such a nice wedding, but I always cry. Donovan, I just love seeing young people happy, don't you? Oh, I think it's lovely.
I've married over 200 couples in my day. Do I believe in it? I don't know. And Mary's End, millions of them. The cottage, the go-kart, the Sunday afternoon drives in the Ford, the first rheumatism, the grandchildren, the second rheumatism, the death, the reading of the will. Once in 1,000 times. It's interesting. Well, let's have Mendelssohn's Wedding March.
Oh, aren't they a lovely couple? I'm sure they'll be happy. That's important thing is to be happy.
Good catch, Rebecca.
This time, 9 years have gone by, friends. Summer, 1913. Gradual changes in Grover's Corners. Horses are getting rare. Farmers coming into town in boards. Everybody locks their house doors now, man. Ain't been any burglars in town yet, but everybody's heard about it. You'd be surprised, though. On the whole, things don't change much around here. This is certainly an important part of Grover's Corners. It's on a hilltop, a windy hilltop. Lots of sky, lots of clouds, often lots of sun and moon and stars. Yes, beautiful spot up here. Mountain laurel and lilacs. Over there are the old stones, 1670, 1680. This here's a new part of the cemetery. Here's your friend, Mrs. Gibbs. And let me see. Here's Mr. Stimson, organist at the Congregational Church. And Miss Sowes, who enjoyed the wedding so. You remember. Oh. And a lot of others. Yes, an awful lot of sorrow. Sort of quieted down for people. People just wild with grief have brought their relatives up to this hill. We all know how it is. And then time, and sunny days, and rainy days, and snow. We're all glad they're in a beautiful place. And we're coming up here ourselves when our fit's over. Now, there's some things we all know, but we don't take them out and look at them very often. We all know that something is eternal. And it ain't houses, and it ain't names, and it ain't earth, and it ain't even the stars. Everybody knows in their bones that something is eternal. And that something has to do with human beings. All the greatest people ever lived have been telling us that for 5,000 years. And yet, you'd be surprised how people are always losing hold of it. There's something way down deep that's eternal about every human being. You know as well as I do that the dead don't stay interested in us living folks for very long. Gradually, they lose hold of people. The ambitions they have, the pleasures they have, and the things they suffer, and the people they love. And they stay here while the earth part of them burns away, burns out. And all that time, they slowly get indifferent to what's going on in Grover's Corners. They're waiting for something that they feel is coming, something important and great. Some of the things they're going to say maybe will hurt your feelings. That's the way it is. Mother and daughter, husband and wife, enemy and enemy, money and miser. All those terribly important things kind of grow pale around you. And what's left? When memory's gone and your identity? Well, there are some living people. There's Joe Stoddard, our undertaker, supervising a new made grave. And here comes a Grover's Corners boy that left town to go out west.
Good afternoon, Joe Stoddard.
Good afternoon. Let me see now. Do I know you?
I'm Sam Craig.
Gracious sake alive, of all people. I should have known you'd be back for the funeral. You've been away a long time, Sam.
Yes, I've been away over 12 years. I'm doing business out in Buffalo now, Joe. You look well.
Very sad our journey today, Samuel.
Yes.
Yes, I always say I hate to supervise when young are mistaken.
Why, this is my Aunt Julia. I've forgotten that she... Of course.
Yes, Doc Gibbs lost his wife around 2 to 3 years ago. It was around this time, too. And today's another pretty bad blow for him.
That's my sister Carrie's boy, Sam Craig. I'm always uncomfortable when they're around.
Simon. Joe, what did she die of?
Who?
My cousin.
Oh, didn't you know? Had some trouble bringing a baby to the world. Wasn't expected though. There's a little boy about 4 years old.
The grave's gonna be over there.
Yes, there ain't much room among the Gibbses. You'll excuse me now. I see they're coming.
Who is it, Julia?
My daughter-in-law, Emily Webb.
Well, I declare, the road up here must have been awful muddy. What did she die of, Julia?
Childbirth.
Childbirth. I'd forgotten all about that. My, wasn't life so and so wonderful? Wonderful, was it?
Simon.
I remember Emily's wedding. Wasn't it a lovely wedding? And I remember Emily reading her poems at graduation exercises. She was the smartest student in high school. I called on them at their new farm just before I died. Perfectly beautiful farm.
Toil and pain, and sin we shall be free. In perfect love and friendship reign through all eternity.
I always liked that hymn. I was hoping they'd sing a hymn.
Hello.
Hello, Emily.
Hello, Mother Gibbs.
Emily.
Hello. It's raining.
Yes.
It seems thousands and thousands of years since Papa remembered that was my favorite hymn. Oh, I wish I'd been here a long time. I don't like being here. How do you do, Mr. Stimson?
How do you do, Emily?
Mother Gibbs, George and I have made that farm into just the best place you ever saw. We thought of you all the time. We wanted to show you the new barn and great long cement drinking fountain for the stock. We bought that out of the money you left us.
I did?
Don't you remember, Mother Gibbs? The legacy you left us. Why, it was over $350.
Yes.
Well, there's a patent device on it so that it never overflows, Mother Gibbs. And it never sinks below a certain mark they have there. It's fine. It won't be the same as George without me. But it's a lovely farm. Live people don't understand, do they?
No, not very much.
They're sort of shut up in little boxes, aren't they? I feel as though I knew them last 1,000 years ago. My boys spend the day at Miss Carter's. Mother Gibbs, we have a Ford too. Never gives any trouble. I don't drive though. Mother Gibbs, when does this feeling go away? Being one of them. How long does it? Shh, here, just wait and be patient. I know. Look, they're finished. They're going. Shh. Look, Father Gibbs is bringing some of my flowers to you. He looks just like George, doesn't he? Mother Gibbs never realized how troubled and how in the dark life persons are. Look at him. I loved him so. From morning till night, that's all they are. Trouble.
Little cooler than it was.
Rain's pulled it off a little.
Those northeast winds always do the same thing, don't they?
If it isn't rain, it's a 3-day blow.
But Mother Gibbs, one can go back. One can go back there again into living. I feel it there. I know it. Why, just then, for a moment, I was thinking about the farm. And for a minute, I was there. And my baby was on my lap, as plain as day.
Yes.
I can go back and live all those days over again. Why not?
All I can say is, Emily, don't.
But it's true, isn't it? I can go back again.
Yes. Some have tried, but they soon come back.
Don't do it, Emily.
Emily, no. It's not what you think it'd be.
But I won't live over a sad day. I'll choose a happy one. I'll choose the day I first knew that I loved George. Why should that be painful?
You're not only living, but you watch yourself living.
Yes?
And as you watch it, you see the thing that they down there never know. You see the future. You know what's going to happen afterward.
But is that painful? Why?
That's not the only reason you shouldn't do it, Emily. Soon you'll see that our life here is to forget all that and think of what's ahead and be ready for what's ahead. When you're here longer, you'll understand.
But Mother Gibbs, how could I ever forget that life? It's all I know. It's all I had.
Oh, Emily, it isn't life. Really, it isn't.
But it's a thing I must know for myself. I'll choose a happy day anyway.
Oh. At least choose an unimportant day. The least important day of your life, and it will be important enough.
Then it can't be since I was married, or since the baby was born. I can choose a birthday at least. Can't I? I choose my 12th birthday.
All right. February 11th. A Tuesday. Do you want any special time of day?
Oh, I want the whole day.
We'll begin at dawn. You remember? It had been snowing for several days.
Look, there's Main Street. And there's Mr. Morgan's drugstore before he changed it. And there's the livery stable.
Yes, it's 1899. This is 14 years ago.
Oh, this is the town I knew as a little girl. And look, there's the old white fence that used to go around our house. Oh, I'd forgotten that. Oh, I love it so. Are they inside?
Yes. Your mother will be coming downstairs in a minute to make breakfast.
Will she?
And you remember, your father had been away for several days. He came back on the early morning train. No, he'd been back to his college to make a speech in Western New York, at Clinton.
Look, there's Howie Newsom. And there's our policeman. But he's dead now. Died.
Whoa, whoa, Bessie. Morning, Bill.
Morning, Howie.
You're up early.
I've been rescuing a party jarring and froze to death down by Polish Town.
Why, it's Joe Kroll.
Morning, Mr. Warren. Morning, Howie.
Emily, time to get up.
Oh, Mama. Look how young Mama looks. I never knew she was ever that young.
You can come and dress by the kitchen fire if you like, but hurry.
Good morning, Mr. Newsom. Oh, it's cold.
10 below by my barn, Mrs. Webb.
Think of it. Keep yourself wrapped up.
Mama, I can't find my blue-haired ribbon anywhere.
Just open your eyes, dear, that's all. I laid it out for you special on the dresser there. If it were a snake, it would bite you.
Yes. Yes.
Good morning, Bill.
Good morning, Mr. Webb. You're up early.
Yes, just been back to my old college in New York State. Been any trouble here?
I got caught up this morning to rescue a Polish fella darn near froze to death.
We must get it in the paper.
Papa.
Morning, Mother.
How'd it go, Charles?
Oh, fine, I guess. I told him a few things. Everything all right here?
Yes, can't think of anything that's happened special. Been right cold. Howie Newsom says it's 10 below over by his barn.
Yes, well, it's colder than that at Hamilton College. Students' ears are falling off. It ain't Christian. Paper have any mistakes in it?
None that I noticed. Coffee's ready when you want it. Oh, Charles, don't forget, it's Emily's birthday. Did you remember to get her something?
Oh, I've got it right here. Where's my girl? Where's my birthday girl?
Don't interrupt her now, Charles. You can see her at breakfast. She's slow enough as it is. Emily, hurry up. Now I don't want to call you again.
I can't bear it. You're so young and beautiful. Why do they ever have to get old? Mama, I'm here. I'm all grown up. I love you all. Everything. I can't look at everything hard enough. Good morning, Mama.
Well, now, dear, a very happy birthday to my girl and many happy returns. There are some surprises waiting for you here at the kitchen table.
Oh, Mama, you shouldn't have. I can't.
But birthday or no birthday, I want you to eat your breakfast good and slow. I want you to grow up and be a good, strong girl. That and the blue paper is from your Aunt Carrie, and I reckon you can guess who brought the postcard album. I found it on the doorstep when I brought in the milk. George Gibbs must have come over in the cold pretty early. Right nice of him.
Oh, George, I'd forgotten that.
Chew that bacon good and slow. It'll help you keep warm on a cold day.
Mama, look at me one moment, as though you really saw me. Mama, 14 years have gone by. I'm dead now. You're a grandmother now, Mama. I married George Gibbs, Mama. But just for a moment, we're together. Just for a moment, we're happy. Let's look at one another.
That and the yellow paper is something I found in the attic among your grandmother's things. You're old enough to wear it now, and I thought you'd like it.
And this is from you. Oh, Mama. It's just lovely. And it's just what I wanted. It's beautiful.
Well, now, dear, I hope you'd like it. Hunt it all over for it. Your Aunt Nora couldn't find one in Concord, so I had to send it all the way to Boston. Your father has something for you, too. Don't know what it is myself. Shh, here he comes.
Where's my girl? Where's my birthday girl?
I can't bear it. It goes so fast. We don't have time to look at one another. I never realized. So all that was going on, and we never noticed? Take me back, up the hill, to my grave. But first, wait. One more look. Goodbye. Goodbye, world. Goodbye, Grover's Corners. Mama. And Papa. Goodbye to clocks ticking. And Mama's sunflowers. And food, and coffee, and new iron dresses, and hot baths, and sleeping, and waking up. Oh, Earth, you're too wonderful for anybody to realize. Do any human beings ever realize life while they live it. Every minute.
No. The saints and poets, maybe. They do so.
I'm ready to go back.
Were you happy?
No. I should have listened to you. That's all human beings are. Just blind people.
Look, the sky's clearing up. The stars are coming out.
Oh, Mr. Stimson. I should have listened to them.
Now you know. Now you know. That's what it was to be alive. Go up and down, trampling on the feelings of those about you, to move about in a cloud of ignorance, to spend and waste your time on merciless and useless things. Now you know. That's the happy existence you wanted to go back to. Ignorance and blindness.
Simon, that's not the whole truth, and you know it. Emily, look at that star. I forget its name.
My nephew Joel was a sailor. Knew him all. He set out on porch evenings to tell all my name. Yes, sir. Wonderful.
A star is mighty good company.
Yes. Yes, it is.
Here's one of them coming.
That's funny. Ain't no time for one of them to be around. My goodness.
Mother Gibbs. It's George. It's George.
And my nephew Joel, who need a start? He said it took millions of years for that speck light to get down to Earth. Don't seem like nobody would believe it, but that is millions and millions of years. That's not a way to behave. We ought to be at home.
Mother Gibbs.
Yes.
They don't understand, do they?
No, dear. They don't.
Most everybody's asleep in Grover's Corners. There are a few lights. Shorty Hawkins, down at the depot, has just watched the train go by. And at the livery station, somebody's setting up late in the top. Yes, it's clearing up. There are the stars, doing their old, crisscross journeys in the sky. Scholars haven't settled in that yet, but they seem to think there are no living beings up there. Just chalk and fire. Only this one is straining away. Straining away all the time to make something of itself. The strain so bad, every 16 hours, everybody lies down, gets a rest. 11 o'clock in Grover's Corner. You get a good rest too. Good night.
Take your share of trouble, face it down. Happiness comes face it.